what I always recommend to people who are newly qualified or are very slow in practice is that you share the cost with other naturopaths. So you just collect up a list of the things you want to buy, and then, hey presto, you've got a full shopping list between the 2 or 3 of you. So that's worked really well, and it still works for myself and one of my naturopathic friends. Sometimes we don't really need much, and she only needs really the same thing. She's very niched, and so she'll often call me, have you got any zinc, or have you got any this? And we both like the same ones, so it's like, yep, here you go, buy this off me, that's great. We'll ring each other. I just need 80 mils of St. John's. Have you got 80 mils? Yep, here you go, 80 mils of St. John's, and here's the bill, wholesale plus GST. And it means that she's got what she needs without necessarily having to go out and buy a 500 ml bottle. Hello and welcome. Mentoring with Geraldine is a bite-sized practitioner podcast for naturopaths, nutritionists, herbalists, and practitioners. This podcast responds directly to your needs, the needs of the practicing natural therapist. With interviews, herbal discussions, something business and something clinical each week, you'll get the variety you need and enjoy to stay motivated in practice. Hello, and welcome to Mentoring with Geraldine and the Bite Size Podcast. How are you today? Now, I've had a few discussions lately with people about herbs and about setting up their first dispensary and how things have changed. And normally I talk about herbs with Christine from the Herbal Extract Company, but Sydney's in lockdown at the moment and she can't get to work. So we can't have our chats. But what we can talk about are things that we use in practice and things that we do in practice. And one of those things is having a dispensary. So I like having a dispensary. I've got to be honest. I like having the herbs in my office, and my office is at home, which means, of course, that I have all of my herbs on hand whenever I need them and whenever I want them. And I do have a small dispensary here as well. And that small dispensary means that any of my local clients, if they need to pick up something, they can do. But I now do most of my sending. For my clients, they shop themselves. They use patient ordering systems with the various companies. And that's working really well for me. But some people, my older clients, they don't necessarily want to do that, in which case I will get the products in and then they will come to me and get them. So I thought we'd just have a little chat about what's a good idea. Should you have these things in when you first start out? It's expensive. Dispensaries are expensive, and setting up that first dispensary can reach into the thousands. So do you want to outlay that money right at the beginning? Chances are, having just paid for your $60,000 degree, you don't really want to. So what I always recommend to people who are newly qualified or are very slow in practice is that you share the cost with other naturopaths. So you just collect up a list of the things you want to buy, and then, hey presto, you've got a full shopping list between the 2 or 3 of you. So that's worked really well, and it still works for myself and one of my naturopathic friends. Sometimes we don't really need much, and she only needs really the same thing. She's very niched, and so she'll often call me, have you got any zinc, or have you got any this? And we both like the same ones, so it's like, yep, here you go, buy this off me, that's great. We'll ring each other. I just need 80 mils of St. John's. Have you got 80 mils? Yep, here you go, 80 mils of St. John's, and here's the bill, wholesale plus GST. And it means that she's got what she needs without necessarily having to go out and buy a 500 ml bottle. Although chances are she'll say, well, next time you order, do you need some St. John's? We'll go halves in a bottle. Or I'd never go halves in a bottle with St. John's, and nor would she. You'd probably use that. But something like Yellow Dog or Blue Flag or Thuya or some of these other ones that you're not using all the time, and when you do use them, you use them in very low dose. Or the expensive ones, you might not use it that often. Ginseng, it's really expensive to buy a bottle of ginseng. So perhaps you can get away with just getting half a bottle and spreading the cost over 2 or 3 practitioners and sharing it out. So it's a really good idea to have, to keep up with your friends from college. Another one you really don't need much of is cayenne. I mean, you're literally putting 5 drops says the woman who put a ml in a 200 ml bottle for a client. And the reason I'm laughing is she phoned me, she said, I did try it, Geraldine, but I really love spicy food, but even I can't tolerate that. And I put 1 ml in a 200 ml bottle. I was, oh, that's fine. I was meant to put only a few drops. Yep, I'll chuck that one out for you. Very sorry. So there's some things you just don't need a 500 ml bottle of, like cayenne. There are some things that you'll go through very, very slowly because the dose is so low. And it's worth making sure with your mates that you break up. If you decide to buy the new practice kit, the first practice kit from the herbal companies, that you go in with other practitioners, because you just don't need 500 mils of each of those herbs. And they're $700 or so for a kit, but they are amazing. It's really worth getting the kits, and you can get the kits from all the different companies. You get one from each company. And you can spread that round a few of you, because you're not going to use all of those herbs straight away. And then some of them, as you niche more and more, you're going to discover, I actually need to have, Withania in all the time, or St. John's in all the time, or some of the kind of big names ones you're going to have in all the time. Whereas, I really don't know how many bottles of Blue Flag I've bought in 15 years. Probably only a couple, maybe only one, because I've definitely shared out a bottle a couple of times. So myself personally, probably in total bought 500 mils in 15 years. So when you're using, it's 10 mils in a 200 ml bottle, isn't it? So it's going to take a really long time to use 500 mils. So really think about, what do I need? How much do I need to keep in my practice? How much do I need to keep on my shelves? What should I be keeping on my shelves? So when we're niche, my niche is really, pediatrics, of course, and we've got the pediatric online mastery course coming up really soon, or we might be in it by the time this is published. So I do have more liquids on my shelf and chewables than probably most practitioners have, but I do a lot of gut work. So I've got a lot of gut work things on my shelf, and probiotics, things like that. They tend to be more of what I find on my shelf because I've niched. I know what I need. I know who my clients are. But that's not to say that I don't throw stuff away every year. So at the end of financial year, every year I do a stock take. I go through everything. I find all of you're finding out-of-date products as you go through anyway. You pick up something off your shelf, think you can give it to a client. You look at the used bar and you go, oh, okay, I just have to buy something new. And so that happens through the year. But I do a stock take. I go through everything. I double check everything. I look at everything, because it might be that one of the herbs has gone off, or there's actually none in there and you hadn't realised that the lid had been off and so it had evaporated down or something silly. So I do go through and I check everything, and I wipe the lids of all the bottles because there is some dribble sometimes. I'm a little bit untidy. I do use a funnel when I pour my herbs into bottles. So it's a good idea to set up some systems and practices of how you go through and check your stock, when you go through and check your stock, but who you can buy with as well. And do you really need to have a full kit of everything in your office? Do you really need to have a dispensary? How are you going to do it that works for your clients and for you, most importantly, because you don't want to be left with a ton of stock. And admittedly, 2020 saw me throw out a lot of stock, that, hundreds of dollars worth of stock, because I wasn't seeing clients in my rooms anymore, and they couldn't necessarily come out because of lockdown or whatever. So then I was like, okay, we'll buy it online and have it sent to you. So really think about, what stock do I need to carry? And it is fun to have the herbs in your office. It really, really is fun to have your own herbs, so that you can just, right, I need to make something, someone's got a cough in the household, someone's feeling stressed in the household, somebody, sore tummy in the household, I just come through, make herbs. It's all gone in 24 hours because you've caught it so quickly. So it's great having them here. It's great having them in your office, but do you need to have 500 mils of every herb? Just a thought. Just a little thought. It's something that's coming up in my conversations with new graduates at the moment. And I thought I'll just leave that, to percolate with you, to think about, what do I really need to carry? How else can I have all these purchases? How else can I have these products? And is it better if I just, have everybody doing patient ordering with the companies? Or I have a Dropbox system where they can come and collect from? Can you have a Dropbox system where your clients come and collect from? Perhaps if you're in the countryside and you're seeing everybody one-to-one, it might be that they come and collect from you, and that's the best way of doing it. But you don't You shouldn't need to have to see everyone when they come to collect them once they've paid, because that's, your boundaries and your time and things like that. So really setting up that system of how your clients are going to get the product, what you're going to buy, what you're going to keep, and whether you really need to buy, whether you really need to keep, and what it is, that niche area that you're going to be in, just to make sure that you're not overspending and you're not throwing things away. I get so frustrated throwing things away, don't you? So that was my quickie today. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'm hoping we'll have Christine back really soon. I'm sorry for the delay in having her here talking to us, because she is good to have around. It's lovely having those little reminders of those herbs that she talks about, and and the different perspective of having a guest. If you want to be a guest, give me a call. So I look forward to speaking to you all very, very soon, and I hope you have an absolutely beautiful rest of day. Bye. Thanks so much for joining me today. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast for the weekly episodes. If you'd like even more support and learning, then the Academy is for you. Here you'll find part 2 of the herbal discussions, more clinical learning, and case studies to support your clients in practice. Bye for now.